So in Psukim Yud to Yud Chet of Perek Chav, it talks about what you should do, how you should give peace offerings to the other nations. If they say yes to peace, you adhere to what they say, and then you make the people of the other nations slaves. But if they don't say peace, you go in and destroy them and take everything. It talks about when Bnei Israel goes to the other nations, they have to give peace offerings. And it talks about what if they say yes, the other nations. So if they do say yes, they have to. Bnei Israel is required to make them their slaves. But and they're not allowed to kill them. They make them as slaves and they conquer their land. But let's say the nations do not do peace. What do? The Bnei Israel destroys the land, and then they make the women, and they take the women and the children and their animals from the other nations.
Go.
So God continues to say that there are from the far cities that leshalom area that these cities that God commands you to kill all them and not let anyone live. These cities include the 7 nations, Chiti, Emori, Kanani, Prizi, Chivi, Rusi, and the Girgash, according to Rashi, that God commands you to do. The reason that God commands you to kill these people is that we don't want Bnei Israel to learn from their ways and the sins of their nations.
Okay, so in our Psukim we found a bunch of questions that bothered us. So one of them is, what about the far-off nations? What if they want peace? How come we're not letting them make peace, and thus we're letting everyone else? How is that fair? So that's a question that a lot of the Parshim actually answer, and our article talks about that. So another one of our questions is, how come in other places in the Torah, when there's shlal, which is the stuff that they find from the cities that they conquer, so how come in other places they're not allowed to eat it or take the stuff for themselves, but here they're allowed to take the gold and take the cattle and take the women and everything? They still have to kill the men. Another question is, based on that, how come they're killing the men and taking the women? Wouldn't it be more helpful for them to take the men as the slaves or to kill the women too? Why are the women okay with that?
Rashi asks of the pasuk when it talks about kitikra el ir, what type of milchama is it? Is it a reshut or a chova? Rashi explains that this is a milchamet reshut because of kain taseh larim harifoko, that you should do this on your own will. So even Ezra continues to say on pasuk yud, it talks about he asks the same question as Rashi does. Is it a reshut or chova? However, like Rashi, Rabbah also says that it's a reshut but for a different reason. Rabbah does it because it's a mitzvah. That kill all the amim ha'rechokim. What if they want to have peace with us? Rashi answers by saying that we're not allowed to have peace with them. We can't have peace with them, and we have to kill them. Rashi asks another question for Lamas V'Avducha, how are they supposed to be avadim? How are they supposed to be avadim? So he answers by saying that we have to fight them until they want from themselves to be slaves.
Basically, our article talks about the whole issue that I brought up before about the pasuk that talks about the far-off nations, the Canaanim, whether or not they can be offered peace. So, according to the Pshat, it appears that you can't offer them peace and you just have to kill them, whereas the other nations you can offer them peace and they can be your slaves. But so Rashi agrees with this, and Rashi says that you have to kill them. But then the article brings up the idea that maybe the pasuk that says that you can't offer them peace is talking about in the case of war. So meaning before war you can offer them peace, but if they decline, then once you're in war you have to kill them. So that's an alternative, and Ramban actually agrees with this, and he says that you can offer them peace, but once you're in war you have to kill them. So we bring up the case of the Gibonim who were killed, and with Rashi it works perfectly. He says that they were killed because that's what the pasuk says. But Ramban says that maybe the reason that they were killed was either they didn't know that peace was an option, or they went to war thinking that they could win, and when they realized they couldn't, peace was no longer an option because they were in war already, and they realized that they had to be killed. So so those are the opinions of the Parshanim and the article. And then the article also brings up the whole reason for these rules. So the article says that the reason that the reason for peace in general is because you're telling those nations that if they accept our rules, then we can live peacefully. And they have to accept the 7 mitzvot b'nai Noach. And basically what we can learn from this is that if they're following those rules, then society will be much more humane, because everybody will be following the same rules, and they think that these rules, these mitzvot, are the standard for how to have like a peaceful society where people live with the right morals. So Rashi says that they have to be killed, the Canaanim, because no matter what, they're incapable of really keeping these mitzvot. Even if they want peace, it won't be for the right reason. So because they are scared, not because they actually believe that these mitzvot are how a person should really act. Whereas the Ramban thinks that they really can keep these mitzvot, they're capable of it, and therefore we should give them the option to make peace with us. So basically, like, the main idea that we can learn from this article is that Bnei Israel really they valued a peaceful society where everybody lived with the right beliefs that they thought would make everybody a better person and keep have a good culture. So, and this shows that like their rules, like regarding war and everything, are based off of this value, and it's a big thing that they lived off of, thinking that the 7 mitzvot b'nai Noach are how to have a good society.